Okay, we're going to get started, folks. Can I ask everybody to take seats, please? Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome. My name's Steve Wagman. I'm Vice President of the Penn State Alumni Association. We're here today to kick off the 2016 Alumni Leadership Connections Conference. In the room today, we have roughly 200 of our great volunteer leaders who have traveled from all over to attend this weekend's events. We're also live streaming the event for those volunteer leaders who could not make it here this weekend and join us in person. And whether you're on campus or joining us online, we're thrilled to have you with us, and I'm confident that we're all going to learn something today. A couple of housekeeping items. First, for those of us in the room, please silence cell phones. Thank you. Secondly, because of the quick nature of these sessions, there will not be Q&A at the end of each presentation. And then third, for those wanting to do so, and we encourage you to do so, please use the conference hashtag to join the conversation online at #4PSAA. And those are the housekeeping items. So we're going to get started. First, I want to welcome Aaron Roppers, who's going to talk to us about the importance of nutrition and exercise. Aaron?
Thank you. We're all very aware of the importance of exercise, and I'm here today to talk to you about, I went the wrong way. Here we go. The many fads that are out there and how busy our lifestyles are. And we can see on social media all the greatest, latest fads and what the best exercises are to do. But I guess the question is, are they really the best ones to be doing and following? And I just want you guys to think about putting these puzzle pieces together as I talk to you today. And I don't want you to think about quick fixes, or maybe you can think about those quick fixes, but I'm going to try to debunk that a little bit and get you guys headed in the right direction with these two very important topics. So I want you guys to leave here today and actually know the real secret, because I'm going to tell you. I promise you, I'm going to tell you the secret this time. So two of your puzzle pieces that I want you guys to think about first is dedication and hard work. And I know you're all very dedicated and hardworking individuals because we're Penn State alumni, right? So for the next 5 minutes, I want you to think about, how do you take care of you? You take care of a lot of things in a day, but how do you take care of yourself? I'm going to help you put these puzzle pieces together, as I told you. And we're going to talk about two other puzzle pieces in a short time. Some of you guys are already taking care of yourself, and I applaud you because you're one of the few. Actually, there are many Americans that suffer from illness due to lack of exercise and an improper diet. Here, this photo is representing someone who's just kind of thinking about making a change, which is what a lot of us do every day. We think about it. And we tell ourselves, oh, we're going to pack a good lunch, we're going to exercise today, and then something comes up, right? There's lots of obstacles and barriers. So this person is trying to fit this puzzle piece together, whether it's the dedication or the hard work. Maybe they aren't really sure why it is that they want to do exercise or follow a nutrition plan. And I'm going to help you with that today. So this might represent our lives. We're running around, we're crazy, we're really busy. We all are. And we have to think about prioritizing, which is another piece of the puzzle. We have to prioritize what's important in our lives. So if you guys are telling me that healthy diet and exercise is important, but you're not acting upon it, then there's a disconnect there. So we have to connect these two and create some synergy. It's constant that we're trying to find that work, life, family, friend balance. Work is piling up, things need scheduled, kids need taken places, and then, of course, there's confusion, right? So the two barriers that are reported, the two number one barriers, are time and money. Those are the two, and somewhat of knowledge, but mainly time and money. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can fix that. So as you know, a lot of people set New Year's resolutions. A lot of times it's for diet and exercise. And a lot of times people fail at this. But we're not really failing. It's that we didn't create a plan, which is your fourth puzzle piece. So we have dedication, hard work, priority, and plan. Those are your 4. Those are the secrets. They're not really a secret, but these puzzle pieces that are represented here in the hand is to show all of your thoughts. So I talked about the person who was trying to fit the puzzle piece together, and they're thinking about making the change, but they're not actually doing it. So the roadmap then represents putting those thoughts into action. And it's very challenging to get to success. We know that this is a slow process. It's not a sprint to get there. It's a marathon. And there's many roadblocks along the way. You're definitely going to have some difficulties and some setbacks and, mistakes. But it's all in how you react to it, right, in order to get to success. So here I'm going to debunk something a little bit for you guys. It's actually less expensive to eat healthy. I don't know if any of you are surprised by seeing this, but I was when I saw it. And since one of the barriers is money, this was interesting to me when I saw it, and I had to share it with you. But what's the other thing? It's time. So maybe we're always on the go, so we're trying to figure out a healthy way to eat, but we don't have a lot of time. But again, I want you to think about aligning those thoughts and values. And if you really do value health and you want to eat better, then you're going to have to spend a little bit more time, just a little bit more time on cooking better. And I'm just going to back up right here to talk to you a little bit about the what and the why, 2 really important things that I need to cover. What is it that you want to change, and why do you want to change it? You might say, oh, I'd like to lose a little weight, but why is it that you want to lose weight? So my advice to you is, if you really, really want to do better, you need to write down right now what it is you want to change. And beside that, write down why you want to change it. And sometimes the why is actually more important than the what, because the why is the motivating factor. So I'm not sure if you've ever thought about that before, but it's very important. So I'll just give you a quick example. So if you do want to lose weight, maybe it's because the doctor said your blood pressure was getting a little high. Or maybe it was because you feel a little tired when you're playing with your kids. And those are 2 really important whys. And that's usually when we start seeing change being made. Because when you determine what your why is and when it's important to you and you value it, then you start to make a change. So life is not fair. It really isn't. We know that. But one thing that is fair is how much time we're given in a day. So if I got up and exercised today and someone else didn't, do I have more time in my day? No, I'm not making time. It's prioritizing. So again, there's one of your building blocks. So there's 1,440 minutes in a day. And Dr. Mike Evans is interested in this research here as far as evidence for exercise. And he says that you really only need 30 minutes, a walk, not even a run, just walk. So that's some good news. And that's where they see the most health benefits, kind of getting the biggest bang for your buck, right? So that's some good news, all right? So I'm trying to debunk these barriers. I'm trying to make it easier for you guys. So we're going to eat healthier for cheaper, and we're also given the same amount of time, so you need to prioritize. So you're probably wondering, how do we fit all these puzzle pieces together? How do we get to success? Well, you have your what, and then you need to write down your why. And then you got your 4 puzzle pieces that we're trying to build together. And you guys hold the keys for success. You really have the choice of what kinds of foods you're eating. No one's holding you down, making you eat junk food. No one's holding you down, making you eat healthy food. You get to choose, which is awesome. All right? And hopefully this is motivating you to write down and create that parallel between what you feel and what you say and what you're actually doing. So when you make your plan, you need to prioritize things, and then you need to commit to it. And then that dedication and hard work is really going to get you through. All right? So that's how you're going to reach that success. And as I wrap up things here for you, I just want you to think about how important nutrition and exercise really are. And we know there are a lot of other health topics out there, but sometimes, or maybe sometimes people will argue that if nutrition and exercise are aligned, a lot of other health issues will fall into place. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe if you get your rest and your stress levels are low, then you feel as though you can engage in exercise and eat a little bit better. But regardless of which came first, the chicken or the egg, it doesn't matter. I just want you to live well. And I just want you to think about if you do not make time for exercise or find time for exercise, then you're going to have to eventually find time for illness. All right? And I'm just encouraging you and motivating you to determine what your why is and get out there and get healthy. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Next up, please join me in welcoming Anna Barone, who's going to help us learn about managing conflict.
So conflict, ugh. Some of us actually shiver at the thought. Some of us are like, all right, it's inevitable, I get it. And conflict is inevitable. Not everyone is comfortable confronting it, though. Sometimes we're more comfortable than others given the situation, and that's a little bit about what I'm going to talk about today, but it really should never feel like combat, especially on the teams that you're leading, because conflict really comes when needs aren't being met. But on the teams you're leading, if you provide space and the level of trust that it requires for people to speak their mind and speak up and say what their needs are, and maybe even before that, know what their needs are and then share them, the conflict is going to be lesser than, and it's not going to feel like combat as people are advocating for what's important to them. As you, as individual leaders, or you're leading your team, are thinking about whether or not to confront something, I want to share this diagram with you. On the y-axis, it shows the escalation of the nature of the issue. So how important is the issue? How important is it to get a need met, even maybe in a situation of something's not quite ethical or something's not quite safe? The issue is very clear. Sometimes, especially in your circumstances, we say we are, right? Who wants to have a conflict with basically family? We're one big community, we're one big family, so the relationships are incredibly important. You wouldn't want to risk kind of any sacrifice of people not liking you or people not getting along, but sometimes the relationships kind of get so important that you lose sight of the issue. Sometimes, and especially in a volunteer role, time is the most limited resource you have, right? So sometimes, depending on how much time you have available, dictates whether or not you can confront something either right away or at all. Now, there are 5 styles that I'm going to outline today. Everyone naturally has a particular style based on maybe the situation, the environment within which we grew up, maybe to the extent that we're comfortable just kind of with a little competitive nature. But again, depending on the situation, our style isn't stagnant. It can be kind of fluid. The first style, and it is represented here by a lion, just to start off with some good school spirit, but also it does kind of fit the competitive nature, going for the win at all costs. Now, for competitors, and especially if this is your natural style, it doesn't mean you don't care about people or care about relationships. But in a given situation, you're objective, you're focused on the goals, you're assertive, you're quick. People love having you on a team. The cons are sometimes relationships get harmed, and sometimes hostility can be bred. If people start to feel left out, people start to feel like you're not considering their opinion. Accommodators come next, the nice koala who at all costs is just holding on to what matters and is like, go on, do whatever you need, I just want to be comfortable. Here, the pros are relationships are certainly preserved. And sometimes when you don't care much about the issue, this might be a time when you don't want to rock the boat and you don't pick that battle. You let the other people who may care more about it win. I think of some middle children I know that may have grown up in this situation where maybe they were never asked where they wanted to go for dinner. They're just like, am I getting food there? I'm good. You guys pick. So sometimes those relationships are so important that, it does save time. These people are easy to work with, but the cons are, if they're not used to even knowing what they need, they're certainly not going to know to voice that. So if you're one of these people naturally, or in a situation where the relationships are really important, still don't forget to assess kind of what's in you, what do you need, and making sure that you're picking the battles you want to pick, that you are maybe choosing more selectively when to voice concerns, knowing that you've likely built the relationships, that you're really not going to probably lose many relationships because they trust you and they want to hear what you have to say. Collaborators, they're the sly foxes. So the thing with collaborators, we all probably would love to be collaborators, but it takes the most time and the most energy, which again are sometimes our most limited resources. So collaborators certainly are like pie in the sky. Let's go for the win-win. Let's see if everyone's needs can be met, we address all issues, and all relationships are going to be preserved. So it's certainly good to aim for that and be a collaborator, but when time gets tight, know that you might have to choke up a little bit, and we'll get to that next. But in general, collaborators go for the win-win. They create mutual trust on the team. They maintain positive relationships along the way, and folks are committed, which is especially important as you guys are working with volunteers. You don't want a lot of turnover. You want people to be in it for a long time and see a lot of growth and development. Compromisers come next, and these are sometimes the collaborators that are crunched for time. Everybody has to give a little to get a little. So it's like many wins, many losses. So the win-win isn't necessarily on the table anymore. These compromisers are great people to have on the team, especially if you have complex situations without simple solutions. So in situations that are kind of clunky, awkward, we're really gonna have to think outside of the box here. Let's everybody come to the table, everybody speak up, and we're gonna compromise on this. All parties are in equal power here too, so again, that's a great benefit for a team, especially the kind of teams that you're leading. The cons are no one is ever fully satisfied, but at the end of the day, we're all Penn Staters, so you can't be that upset. And then they are less optimal solutions getting implemented sometimes. One thing here is you can sometimes see conflicts like these coming and give yourself a little bit more time. So still shooting for that win-win to see maybe if those solutions can actually end up being met. And last but not least are the turtles. And it's not really a turtle, it's just a shell. The head is hidden inside. They're like, oh my gosh, this feels tense. I'm gonna be over here. You guys work it out and let me know when it's time to go. We've all been avoiders at times, and those are times when maybe we really just don't even have a horse in the race, and we just kind of want to go and hide and let things get sorted out, let the relationships get preserved that need to get preserved, let the issues get met that need to get met, and we'll just kind of be right here. Sometimes, too, in crisis situations where a decision has to get made really quickly because time just isn't there, some people who will just kind of avoid it and let maybe a competitor or someone take lead, make the decision, make it quick, maybe get people out of harm's way, that sort of thing. So sometimes it is helpful for people that not to kind of challenge the process, but just kind of get out of the way and let a quick decision be made. So conflict is certainly not getting escalated by avoiders because they're very far away. But the con is that problems can sometimes go unaddressed. So again, kind of like the accommodators, if you have avoiders kind of naturally on your team, make sure that they do know that you want to hear what they have to say, you want to know what their needs are so that they know that they can speak up. And again, conflict comes from unmet needs, so that's what we'd like to avoid. So what's in it for you? You can know your style and you can know your team style. I posted a quiz online. It actually just has 6 questions. It's multiple choice, and depending on how you answer, it shows you what your natural style is and then maybe like a runner-up or 2. And then that's just kind of who you are innately in those situations on the quiz. But remember, back to that diagram from before, your style can kind of fluctuate given the importance of the relationships or the issues at hand. Remember to determine what matters most and when. So kind of keep that diagram in your head as you're going through situations and plot yourself and maybe plot someone else and understand how to kind of juxtapose things to shift appropriately, again, to confront things but not let them feel like combat. Again, make time, don't hit and run. Don't leave this session being like, she told me to confront things, so it's always bothered me that you did this and this over here. I think just make time for it. I think you can kind of ease it into your concept again, making sure that people know what's valuable to them and speak up about it, because that balance of power is really what you want to see on a team. So thank you again for your time. I hope this was helpful.
Thank you, Anna. Next up, we're going to invite Matt Barone to come up and talk with us about how to find our leadership style.
Thank you. Oh, go this way. Hi. One of my favorite quotes is, before you can lead others, you must first learn to lead yourself. Before we lead others, we must first learn to lead ourselves. And the reason I like that definition is because it makes leadership both interpersonal between people and intrapersonal within ourselves. And so I want to share with you a symbol that you might be very familiar with, once I figure out the clicker here, of Wi-Fi, right? We think about the Wi-Fi connection. For those of you that this might be unfamiliar to, think about dial-up was before that, okay? Before dial-up, believe it or not, there were books that we sought information from. But now we see this symbol and we think about connection. We think about knowledge. We think about relationships. We think about full potential, right? And I think that all of those words also relate to leadership. But what's interesting about this symbol is that the beginning of the symbol you can see is a dot. And I'd like for the rest of our few minutes together to think about that dot as you, as the individual. Before we can have those bars continue to fill to full strength, that dot has to show up. We have to show up. And we need to know what it is that we bring to the table and what strengths and skills that we have so that then the rest of our team can fill out the rest of our fullest potential and connect and access information and build relationships with others like we would like to through this Wi-Fi signal. One of the ways that we use here on campus to help others learn about themselves is a model that was done by Kouzes and Posner, James Kouzes and Barry Posner, called the Leadership Challenge. And they identified through studying groups across the country for many, many years, 5 practices or behaviors that were crucial for that group to be successful. 5 things that had to happen over the course of that group's lifespan for it to be able to meet its goals. And these 5 practices are very easily understood, and I think that's what makes the model so helpful to us. And as I explain what they are, you'll probably think that makes a lot of sense in your head. The first is model the way. And so model the way folks are those that believe that these values that I have are important, and they're important in every single walk of my life. These values are important to me at home, at work, and within whatever groups I might be affiliated with. And I'm consistent amongst all of those. These people know what those are, and they share those with other people. The next is challenge the process. So these are the folks in a group that are willing to and naturally able to think, well, yeah, we did it that way last year, but maybe there's a better way. Or yes, this is working, but if we were to just tweak a couple of things here or there, it would be so much better. They're not happy with the status quo. There's always an opportunity for us to do bigger and better. The third practice is inspiring a shared vision. And these are the individuals in your organizations and groups that are quickly able to listen intently and say, you know what, you just said this, you said that. If we combine those and tweak them, we can go even further. And we can take our ideas to this vision that is going to propel us forward. And so these inspiring a shared vision folks are quickly able to come up with these ideas and translate them in a way that makes everyone get on board quickly. Enabling others to act are folks that understand that we all bring skills to the table, and they leverage them to allow for us to meet those goals. So they'll be able to acknowledge that someone over here might be really good at details. So you can have the detail work, and you can help us move that forward. Someone over here might be really good at building relationships. So that's your job. Help us build those relationships, and not vice versa. And so enabling others to act both understands what people bring to the table, and then assigning them or empowering them to do those jobs to help move the group in that direction. Our last practice is encouraging the heart. And encouraging the heart are those folks that recognize the importance of a pat on the back, of a nice thank you note, and celebrating our small accomplishments towards that bigger picture that we've established. So encouraging the heart sometimes feels not as important as the others, but I think we all can recognize how good it feels when someone praises the good work that we've done publicly, or gives us that nice note under the table that says, I recognize you and you're a valuable member of our team. So Kouzes and Posner developed this theory through lots of research and studying, and it's a very easily understood model, again, but it's crucial that all 5 of these practices are a part of your team and a part of any team in order for it to then be successful. So if we understand what we have to offer, which practices we're naturally good at, we can then better pick our team or identify people on our team to help us meet those goals that we're trying to meet. Again, leadership is both intrapersonal and interpersonal. And so there is work to be done with others. And so if we understand how to reach that fullest potential on the Wi-Fi signal, we can understand the ripple effect that we have. When we drop in, what is the impact going to be on the rest of our team? What are we bringing and what do we need from others? And so here, this quote here from Maya Angelou, I think sums up leadership in many, many ways in terms of working with others. And that ultimately, people will never forget how you made them feel. And if you make them feel empowered, and if you make them feel valued by understanding what it is that you can bring to the table and understanding what it is that you need, I think our teams can be so much more successful. I'd like to close by reading a story that is, it's an unknown author, and it's written on a tomb in Westminster Abbey, on a tomb of a bishop. And so the story is called Start With Yourself. When I was young and free and my imagination had no limits, I dreamed of changing the world. As I grew older and wiser, I discovered that the world would not change. So I shortened my sights somewhat and decided to change only my country. But it too seemed immovable. As I grew into my twilight years, in one last desperate attempt, I settled for changing only my family, those closest to me. But alas, they would have none of it. And now, as I lie at my deathbed, I suddenly realized if I had only changed myself first, then by example, I would have changed my family. From their inspiration and encouragement, I would have been better able to change my country, and who knows, I may even have changed the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. I think we've now heard from the entire Barone family. Appreciate the perspective and sharing that with us. Next up is Annie Poet. Annie is going to talk to us about a topic I know we can all relate to, which is stress and time management. Annie.
All right, thank you. So I'm excited to give this presentation, and I don't think it's ironic by any means that I feel stressed about giving this presentation. So it's very suiting. Stress is something that we all experience. It is a very universal feeling that happens on a daily basis for most people, right? So an important thing to know about stress, though, is that stress isn't necessarily a bad thing to experience. In a lot of ways, it's very positive and it's very motivating. So if you look at this graph here, if you look over on the low end, so whenever you are not feeling stressed at all, your performance is going to be very low. So for example, if I wasn't feeling stressed out about this presentation, I wouldn't have really prepared. I would have thrown these slides together, I would have got up here, and I just would have winged it, and who knows what would have happened, right? I am stressed about it, so I did prepare, right? However, I am not so far stressed that I'm unable to think clearly and perform and, articulate the things that I want to say. So what you really want is somewhere in the middle. You want to have this optimal level of stress that allows you to perform and do the things that you need to do. Ooh. Okay, so what is stress? Stress is your body's response to any type of change, whether this change be a good change or a bad change. So a good change could be something positive, like maybe you're starting college, you just got promoted at your job, or a bad change. So you could suffer an injury, you could lose your job. Various things can cause stress to your body. Even imagined change can be stressful. So just anticipating a future change that is going to happen in your life. Stress is experienced physically, emotionally, and behaviorally. So physically, you might notice that your heart rate is increasing, you might have difficulties breathing, you might feel nauseous, like you have a knot in your stomach, right? Emotionally, you might feel pretty fatigued. Stress takes up a lot of mental and physical resources, so it leaves you feeling pretty depleted and unable to have the energy that you need to go about your day. And also behaviorally, so you might have difficulty sleeping, falling asleep, you might be more irritable, so you might be more short with your friends and your family. Some people turn to substances, so using alcohol to help manage their stress. Right? So stress can be manifested in various different ways. Okay, so some causes of stress. I think the external ones are easy to identify. So external ones are events, anything that really happens to us in our life. These are things that, for the most part, are pretty much out of our control. So for example, for work, you might be stressed because you work long hours. You might be able to have some control over your work hours, but for the most part, you're expected to be there and you're expected to do your job, right? The one thing, or the part that I want to focus on though today more, is the internal pieces that influence how we experience and manage our own stress. So the things that go on inside of us, our thoughts, our feelings, and then ultimately our behaviors and the way in which we approach stress. So the first one is fear and uncertainty. So the core to stress, or what underlies, stress and anxiety, is this desire to be in control. So when we don't feel like we have control, we start to worry. And having those worrying thoughts, those racing thoughts, what if, or how can I do this, how can I do that? That is our way to try to regain control over uncertainty or over the unknown. So I think finances is a big one. I think everyone can relate to that, where you worry about money. How am I going to pay my bills? Okay. Attitude and perception. So how you view the world and how you view the situation can really impact how you experience that stressor. So for example, say your car gets broken into, and you live in a very safe neighborhood and this happens. Do you view the event as like an isolated incident that happened randomly, or do you now all of a sudden feel very unsafe in the community that you live in? Right? So if you view it as an isolated event, you're less likely to go out into your neighborhood and feel fearful or feel stressed out. But if you view it as something that, this place is no longer safe, it's going to impact you on a day-to-day basis and how secure you feel in your home. One thing I like to encourage people to do for those two things is come up with some type of meaning or some type of purpose in life. So this is more of like an existential idea, but it's like, how do you make sense of the world? For some people, that is a belief in a higher power. For some people, it's a belief that everything just works out exactly how it's supposed to work out. Maybe things are just random. But find meaning. Find some way to make sense of the things that happen to us in life. The next one is unrealistic expectations. Perfectionism is very dangerous. We live in a very imperfect world. So if you expect to be perfect, you are going to be very disappointed, and you're going to be continuously stressed out. So lower those expectations. And then personality, just as a side note, there's a lot that goes into that, genetics, temperament, things like that, but just take note that personality also impacts that. So how do you manage stress? These ones I think are more out there. Exercise, it's a very good natural stress relief. Self-care. You should be engaging in self-care every single day. It doesn't have to be anything big, like you don't have to go on a long vacation or even call off the whole day at work. Do little things for yourself. My self-care is having coffee every morning because that just makes the morning feel better for whatever reason. Living a healthy lifestyle. This is everything from diet to setting boundaries for yourself in regards to like the people you surround yourself with. Learning how to say no. If you're feeling overwhelmed, don't take on that extra task. Or even if you don't feel like doing something and you'd rather go home and watch a movie, learn to say no. So these next two then, put them up here, are the more internal pieces. So these are the things that you tell yourself about those stressful situations. My best advice to you is learn how to let go of things that you cannot change. So we have very little control over anything in this life, especially other people's behavior. So learning how to let go of those things that you cannot control and instead focus on the few things that you do have control over, like what it is you put into your body, right? The food you eat, the exercise you engage in. Look for the upside. I really like to encourage people to look at a challenge as an opportunity for growth. Try to find the most positive piece of that experience and use it to self-actualize yourself, become the best version of yourself, right? Learn to practice forgiveness and learn to practice acceptance. I think forgiveness and acceptance is a very selfish act in that it's really it's for yourself, right? That's redundant. But I like to live by the principle that people are doing the best that they can with the skills that they have. So if people make mistakes, if someone hurts you, does something to you, rather than holding on to anger and resentment, try to view it as that person is doing the best that they can, given the situation and given the skills that they have. And then finally, adapting to the stressor. Try to reframe the problem. Try to look for the positive in the situation. I know that can be very hard sometimes, right? But also look at the big picture. Will this matter in the long run? Is this something that is worth the time and energy that it is going to take to worry about it or to stress over it? If the answer is no, try to move on from it. Try to let it go. And then the last one here is the big one: adjust your standards. Like I said, perfectionism will not get you anywhere. Learn to set lower expectations for yourself and learn to be okay with just good enough. Right? Right. That's everything I have for you.
Well, hopefully you're all feeling a little less stressed. I know my stress relief is getting in the car, driving 3.5 hours to Penn State for a weekend. So thank you, Annie. Last but certainly not least, I'd like you to join me in welcoming Amy Freeman, who's going to talk to us about finding balance in our lives. Amy?
Hello, everybody. How are you doing? And this is interactive. That's kind of who I am. Okay, so feel free to talk back. It's all good. I love the talk that preceded me because I'm talking a little bit more about that. And one of the things that I did was I went online in preparation for this talk, and you look up images, about when you say work-life balance, you look up images. And it's interesting, the mythical images that they present. So if you look at the first image, you've got a woman who's going to race two people. She's on a scooter. They're on like a skateboard and a bike. What are the chances? But to me, it kind of suggests that if you want to get ahead, other people are going to deliberately act in a way that lets you get ahead. That's a lie, all right? Part two, I've been to many a conference. This second image suggests that you can easily mix work and life and fun together. You're in your business suit, you're on the beach, you're kicking a volleyball. The volleyball has no sand on it. Nobody's wet, nobody fell down. I gave that a mixed reviews, okay? That's a lie. And so rather than call them lies, you can call it the myths, that people have. So what I want to just start with is examining all of the myths and the lies, in my opinion, that we have about balancing work and life and about stress and what it means as regards the work that we do. So some of the myths that I have found to be untrue, and I won't go through them all, but my personal favorite: thanks to multitasking, more gets done in less time. Not so much. With the advent of the computer, we thought, this is going to save so much time, but they fill the extra time with more work. So what was that about? Okay. So again, we think about in your mind, what are the myths that we hold very closely to us? And I think that's one of the things that contributes to our increasing stress. There we go. So what I'll do is I'll give you some of the facts. So much for, I call it Amyology, but the facts are that most working people, above 80%, feel extremely stressed. And contributors to that stress include workload, not how hard or how difficult, but the sheer volume of work that gets dumped on your head every day. Okay. Personal issues. If you have a life, I notice you don't work here, you're volunteering. So I see where you have lives outside of what your 8-hour work every day. And when you add it all together, it's difficult to mix together for a variety of reasons. And folks that are extremely stressed out, one of the things that we know is that it is so prevalent in the United States that healthcare expenditures are 50% higher for folks that experience extreme levels of stress, okay? So somebody's making $1 on you being stressed out. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. It's benefiting somebody. Now, it's important to know the signs of stress, the physical signs of stress. You ever just, I can't sleep, my neck, my back hurts, I eat too much, I forget to eat lunch, all of the things that happen. I think everybody has these are the top 5 physical contributors to stress. So everybody has a trigger. When you get stressed out, it's something, you can feel it physically for most people. There are also psychological signs of stress, okay? Wanting to scream, wanting to run away. Sometimes I come to Penn State, and I love Penn State, we are, etc. But sometimes you drive, and I just want to drive on past Penn State and keep going because it's just too much. And so, see, somebody else feels the same way. It's not just me. Good to know. Good to know. But feelings of anxiety, you're in a hurry all the time. overwhelmed, can't breathe, can't see. How many of you know somebody, like coworker, somebody you know? Raise your hand if you know somebody like that. Okay, a lot of hands out there. We're not talking about them, okay? We're talking about you, and it's important for you to really get that. It's important for you to recognize the signs of extreme stress in yourself. So look at somebody and say, you better recognize. No, yeah, do it. Look at them, say, you better recognize. You can do this. Thank you, somebody. Okay, work with me, okay? It's important to remember we're talking about you. One of the things that I strongly believe, which was mentioned earlier, small steps make a big difference and go a long way in alleviating stress. If you can't change your whole life, start somewhere. So one of the things that I know about stress and about life is your life is dictated by your core values. I had a friend who used to say, now this may not be true, but I believe it till I die. Like, okay. So this meant that his core values dictated who he was, and he accepted that, whatever, right, wrong, true, false, he accepted who he was. So my question to you is, what are your core truths about stress and balance? So one of my core truths is peace is essential to my life and to my success. And if I don't have peace, I'm not going to be successful. So take a few seconds and think about what are your core truths, or think of one of your personal core truths. Okay.
I just retired, so I'm not going to worry about it anymore.
See, and I want to be you when I grow up, so it's all good. There's hope for all of us. So I would just say start somewhere. You can retire, start somewhere. The other thing I would say, there are a number of these. I won't go through them all. But in terms of little things, one of the things I did once, schedule yourself in first. One of the things I did was, I remember I took a calendar. Every time I'd see my calendar, it had so many things. I just, just a nervous wreck just looking at it. It was so full. And so at that time, I had one of those, you could write on it and so on. I erased my entire calendar, and it felt so good just erasing, like, oh my God, meeting gone, this gone, and that was when I realized this is really making me nuts. And so what I decided to do was put back on the calendar things I had to do. I'm a parent, I'm paid to go to work and so on, and things I love to do. And when I redid the calendar there, one of the things I found is some things I thought I loved, I don't love so much. And I found a brand new column called optional. So it's just kind of out. Do I really have to go to every potluck? I don't know, okay? So it opened up spaces on the calendar where there were places where I could insert peace for myself. And so the other thing, rest. Every living, healthy thing on the face of the earth rests, except humans in the United States of America, okay? It's true. We take less vacation than any other industrialized nation on the globe. So do the math. I would say it's important in the cycle of your life to include rest. It's not optional. Incorporate it, be deliberate, and put it there. The next one was spoken about earlier, and it's say no. And I want you to say it. We talk about saying no, but say the words no, 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 I ain't gonna. Who do you think you are? Okay. So now, very often we're so programmed to say yes to everything. And I encourage you, no is a good word. I like no. I've learned to embrace no. No and I are friends. And so I think very often we say no if it involves someone else or if it includes, benefits someone else for me to say no. But you can say no for yourself, okay? So I don't have to, I don't want to, I'm saying no. And very often the word no can bring you more peace. The other thing is personal relationships are long-term investments. It doesn't happen overnight. Any place else, you can send an email, a letter, a fax, but a personal relationship, you must show up yourself. And so if there are relationships that have meaning to you, make sure you're spending the time to invest in those relationships. And as the prior speaker said, take good care of your health. You only have one you. So the answer is you set your own measure of success. You find solutions that are unique to you. Everybody else don't have to care. It's all about you. I thank you so much for your time. I encourage you to live, enjoy. These are a few possibilities that might change your life. There are more in my book. Stress Less, 10 Balancing Insights on Work and Life. And it's a short, easy book because stressed out people don't have time to read 20 chapters on how they messed up. Okay, start in the middle, pick one you like. And I thank you again. Have a great, great afternoon.
Thank you, Amy, and I want to personally thank all of our speakers today. You know, as volunteers, we're all pulled in many, many directions. I hope you found these sessions insightful and maybe take a couple of tidbits away that you can incorporate into your work, volunteer life, and family life as well. I always refer to it as not a work-life balance, but a work-life integration. This concludes our first general session, and that means we're saying goodbye to our online audience. Thank you for joining us, and please feel free to follow the rest of the conference through our hashtag #4PSAA. For those of us on campus, we're now going to move to our first breakout session in the Sackett building, which is located across the lawn on the other side of Old Main. Please follow our volunteer and committee leaders and staff members. If you have ADA needs, there will be Penn State alumni-friendly golf carts out in front of the building, and they'll help you get to the next location. I think we're off to a great start. I look forward to spending the rest of the weekend with all of you and hopefully have a chance to chat a bit. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.